Thanks, guys. Appreciate everyone showing up in a very busy day. You braved the elevators. You made it. I still haven't, it's been my 10th year at ASU. I still haven't found the stairwell. But thank you all for joining the panel. Just to make sure you're in the right place, we're here talking about the changing behaviors and preferences of individual learners, which I think has been a little bit of a grail for education, whether we talk about, K-12 or higher ed or adult learning. How do we better create systems that match a recognition, an increasing recognition and acknowledgement that different learners learn different ways, and we don't need to shove everyone into the same box or the same curve that we've used for the last 200 years. It's always strange because this is a very large conference, so we're going to ask by show of hands who's sitting in the audience by bucket. So where are my educators? Woohoo! Oh, me. Oh, this is a heavy educator. Where are my investors? Hello, all 7 of you. Administrators? Hello! Thank you all for joining. We're super excited to have you here. We'll spend the next 33 minutes hopefully having some riveting dialogue. I think first would be great if we could have every one of our panelists just introduce yourselves. It would be great to understand who you are, the organization you represent, and also the learners that you serve.
Myself, Prateek. I'm co-founder at PhysicsWallah. We are a test prep company out of India, teaching 44 million kids out there, and we made education affordable in India, and currently on a mission to become a lifelong learning partner for the kids out there. Yeah.
Eilert, Hanoa. I'm the CEO of Kahoot. Been working with software for learning for many decades, but last 10 years with the Kahoot. We're serving approximately 8 million teachers and 1.6 billion participants last 12 months on the Kahoot platform, non-unique. So really very interested in this topic.
Hi, I'm Andrew, and I'm CEO and co-founder at Learneo. And we're an online platform that's a learning platform and a productivity platform. And we help people either learn better, faster, more affordably, study better, faster, more affordably, write better, faster, more affordably, read better, faster, more affordably. You get it. That's our objectives. And we serve about 100 million monthly active users. There's about 200,000 teachers and professors on the platform, and we serve about 3 million subscribers per year.
Okay, so you all gave me the numbers, which is very impressive. Thank you, everyone. But you didn't tell me the breadth of the individuals. So would love to go back down, because I think one of the things that will help contextualize what you're doing is really who you think of as your individuals, right? Is it the students? Is it the teachers? Is it parents? Different than who pays, but really would love to understand the age ranges, maybe some broad sense of use case, because I think we have a pretty riveting group here that's represented by the 3 companies. We'll go back down.
Yeah, so we are mostly a STEM company in India. So we have 70% of our audience from grade 9 to 12th. But we are expanding horizontally, and we are present in from grade 6 to graduate levels now. And mostly we are we are direct D2C company. So the 2 major stakeholders are students and teachers. So yeah.
Right. On Kahoot, we are basically serving from pre-read to gray hair. Lifelong learning. We have great apps, which is actually making kids able to teach themselves how to read, which is pretty cool, especially if you have a kid. And we also have great math apps, same for algebra. We have the Kahoot, which you might know, the plain vanilla Kahoot is with text and questions. We have that with read out loud and with images as answers. So really catering from the whole scale of our user base, which is students at home, of course in class, but also B2B, as that's our biggest part of the business from a revenue perspective, and really being used for anything in the C-suite to onboarding of new employees in larger organizations. So everyone.
Everyone, I like that.
We serve students in high school, college, grad school, and now are serving more people as they also become professionals or are not students. We have the majority of our usage is actually outside of the US now, internationally. So it's become quite global. And so we think about different levels or stages of life that we serve, different geographies. And then we've also thought a lot about how do you build different brands and businesses for different jobs to be done in people's lives or different subject areas. For example, we've expanded deeper first into math. And there's a business called Symbol Lab that does a lot of solving and graphing calculators and practice around math problems. A different business and brand called LitCharts around literature. And a different business like Quillbot that is into writing and reading, really AI and writing reading assistants. So we think oftentimes if you can have a team and a brand and a business that is really focused on building around more of a closely clustered set of user needs, you can build a lot more contextually aware or personalized experiences that get associated in our heads as customers.
Andy, great. Big fan of LitCharts. Didn't cheat with them, but love the graphing of them. No, but I think you all mentioned some themes that are really interesting as we think about what an individual learner means. And I think in the context of K-12 broadly, we've talked about personalized education for probably 10 years now, right? And what it means to achieve that. But what's really interesting is all of you are breaking that apart in very different ways, whether you're thinking about use case, right? Kind of product market fit for the use case that they need. I love the way you talk about clustering, whether it's lifelong learning, right? Whether it's modality, whether it's learning style. And so I think open floor question, would love to ask you all, like, what does it mean to you to serve the individual? Does it mean having a cluster of product families where the individual can bounce from one to one? Does it mean going from cradle to grave and following them from learning to read to reading great novels? And right, would love to understand, because that's a pretty loaded term. So would love to understand, as you guys think about your organization and serving, is it just being customer focused, right? Would love to hear how you all think about what it means to serve an individual learner.
Well, for example, for LitCharts, actually about 40% of the subscribers to that business are educators. In that case, it's largely high school teachers, and it's very focused on literature reviews, how to summarize, analyze a particular text. And actually, this year, and even just this last week, the teams launched their first set of AI tools, but highly focused on literature and literature analysis, with the audience being teachers. And distributing through teachers and through schools, which is quite different than maybe a different form of personalization that we think about in the context of, say, AI writing, where we can think of a world now where we're becoming much more contextually aware of how would I write on LinkedIn and doing a post versus how would I write when I'm doing an email versus how would I write if I'm writing a blog post or even texting on WhatsApp. And can I be contextually aware of the place where I'm writing? And then could I even get to the level of understanding how do I write? So it's really augmenting me versus pattern recognition, how the average person probabilistically writes on the web. And so I think you can think about that for different audiences, different subjects, different jobs to be done. Is personalization, in a sense, is to understand context deeper and deeper and deeper to be highly relevant in the recommendations, is one framework that I think is relatively agnostic to geography, job to be done, subject, level, persona, etc.
So one of the biggest groups we have of users on the platform is obviously teachers. Everyone who's teaching or working closely with teachers today know that the biggest challenge is maybe not technology, but time. And the challenge is also how do you address up to 30 kids in the class with very different needs and very different background and maybe more and more diverse knowledge starting point. I think Kahoot as a phenomenon, maybe one of the reasons we've been so popular with teachers through the last decade, is because it's gathering everyone into a session where it's about sharing knowledge and making it engaging, and also building that confidence in the ability to master, which of course needs to be there in order to learn anything. So what we do is to try to build on that. How can we make our games even more inclusive when it comes to you basically competing against yourself, meaning getting more knowledge, understanding more, but at the same time following the class and giving the teachers the ability to follow up those kids who needs the most attention. So individual learning is what we all do, of course, there's no other way to learn, but it's very different whether it happens in class or self-study at home, if it's because you really want to learn something or because you have to and you have a safety net, meaning parents or teachers that are helping you versus not having any safety net. All those different scenarios, and again, in different parts of the world, we're used across the whole globe, is something we're really trying to figure out how can we improve every single day. And I'm very happy to say that what we're doing is not just because Kahoot has a great business, but we're also giving all these tools for free forever for all teachers and students and parents in the world. So we're really doing this as a serious project for a lifelong learning, but also a lifelong investment from our side to make this work. The only way we can really make a difference is to make sure that we are able to address that last student, whether you are in preschool or in kindergarten or in university level, it's the same challenge. And we're all having different paces and cycles on when to learn what. And all these need to be taken into consideration when we're building our software. So it's a big task, but I think AI is definitely helping us think different on some of these things. As we all know, AI is not a silver bullet, but it's definitely a great infusion in several steps of the learning use or the usage for teachers in making learning awesome on Kahoot, such as creating content or putting the content together faster, not creating, but aggregating, making it more engaging in class and individually experiences included in that. And last but not least, better way to analyze the results of the session with the students so that you can even better address the needs of the students in the next cycle.
Thank you. And so we are a very, very Indian company, like 95% of our operations in India. And we have solved a very unique problem of accessibility to good quality teacher at a very affordable price. In 2020, mid of COVID, when we started our operations, we brought down the prices of the live learning by 90% in country, and and we have ended up creating India's mega classrooms where 40,000 students study together with a lecture faculty. And when we started, we were fundamentally a broadcast YouTube channel where students are just participating in chat. But over the period of time, we have constantly worked on the problem that how can we make it more personalized. And as we speak, we have this amazing classroom experience in which actually it's not teaching, it's like a show. Where 40,000 kids are studying from one lecture, and there is a teaching assistant in this class who solves the students' doubt in person, and there's an AI layer of engine which solves the students' doubt continuously. Currently, we are able to solve 60-70% doubt by using AI. And we empower this teacher with amazing technology tools where he can have these rolling sentiment analysis of the students. He can ask live questions, leaderboards, student participating in chat, templates, they're upvoting the doubts, the most common doubts in a classrooms gets accumulated. So it's it's designed for a very to make it more engaging and make it more affordable as well. So probably this is the solution for the emerging markets, the developing countries. And so in 1,000 hours of learning in one year, we do it at a price point of $40. Yeah,
that's incredible. And I love the way all of you talked about the tools that are going into how you're empowering the product that you have, right? And Andy, I love the way you think about contextual awareness, because it is a framework that works better than learning style or ability that comes in, and contextual awareness changes over time, right? And contextual awareness changes day by day, and it could change with what's going on at home, or whether you got a good meal, or whether you're just kind of sleepy, or you're feeling it or not, right? And I think that's really helpful, but it's such a big topic. And as we think about how all of you are enabling contextual awareness, part of it is what is the data ingestion that we have that we can then run all of our great AI or machine learning models on to get smarter. And so I guess the question is, as you think about building this out, right, what are the data sources that you're drawing from? Is it your own data, right? How do you ensure that the inputs are flexible enough? Because as we think about the landscape, and you all are pretty big, so this works, and scale helps, but you think about the average K-12 ecosystem, there are 20 logons for the average teacher, right? So how do you think about tackling this problem where we're at the cusp of having great tools to make all of the goals that we're trying to get to better, but the data sources are all over the place?
So if I have to answer this question, the data sources from the first principle thinking, if you go back 100 years, the teacher have empowered, historically to gather all these data sources. Fundamentally, the students' study hours, their test scores, and if we draw parallels to the current world, there are thousands of data points, we record, for example, how many minutes they are giving to subjects, what is with the practice sheet participation rates, how their test scores are improving, and what are their economic backgrounds, what are the geographic locations, what is the second language.
Are you collecting economic background? Are you collecting demographic data?
So, the economic background, we give this option for them to fill up their profiles, because, see, what we believe is with this data library, we can actually build an academic underwriting model in which we can empower a lot of students based on their academic ability, not on the family financial history. And that will bring a lot of digital and financial inclusion. Again, I'm talking about very India specific problem, but data is very important. The frameworks of AI will come and go and change. But how well you can train models on your own source of data.
Relies on what goes in.
Yeah. And among all these data, the most important is the academic doubts, and the interaction happens between a teacher and the students. We have millions of doubts library and interaction, these personalized interaction, and that will become the source for our virtual teacher. Yeah.
So one of the secrets of Kahoot is that it's used not directly to connect to grades. It's actually used, as you might have, if you let's raise hand. Anyone played Kahoot here?
Woot woot.
That's good. Thank you, customers. It's really anonymous nickname, and that's the whole point. If you, as a teacher, really want to know what's the level of knowledge in this class right now, if it's going to be anything related to how you answer, you will not necessarily get the right answer because it's going to be cost of answering correct or incorrect, depending on what it is. So Kahoot is used this instant, how do I get the finger on the pulse on the patient? I'm not interested in the pulse average for the week. I'm interested in right now and how many are really on this topic so that I know what to spend the next cycle or next session on. And what we try to do is to make that engaging. So the smartest teachers, and we have many as customers or users, the smartest teachers are not only making a Kahoot for chapter 5 in the book for Friday and saying that on Monday so everyone will read it because it's going to be more fun. The smartest are asking the 3 most noisy boys to make that Kahoot, because then they will read all the footnotes and they will find all the tricky parts and the questions in that text so that everyone else had to read twice as much to be able to answer. And I think the whole point is how can we continue to make the engagement aspect of learning? how can we make sure that the teacher would every time will be in a different situation in the classroom, even if it's the 5th grade, it's the same book, it's chapter 5, it's not going to be the same situation as last time. So a lot of the data can be used for us to build a better product, but not necessarily put into the session for the teacher per se. We really think, and to your point, the teacher needs to be the classroom hero, and we need to empower the teacher with the absolute best tools to read that room in that situation, to get as many as possible, to master, to be engaged, and to really be able to consume the learning.
Yeah, I think it's a great question to be able to figure out what context do I need to be able to give a relevant recommendation, a personalized recommendation, because I think if you try to boil the ocean, regardless of size, resources that one has, you just will fail. And figuring out what sort of data would be useful to be able to then create an experience that is super valuable, I think is like one of the most fun and most challenging exercises, because it informs who am I going to go to get that data? Teachers, students, tutors, schools, licensing. What's the cost of that going to be? And then what am I going to be able to do with it? And I think that really informs so much of the exercise of figuring out who am I serving, what are the use cases, what am I going to go build, how am I going to reach the user, and really the whole model. And we've noticed, for example, like building into math, to be able to really get accuracy of building out step-by-step solutions and explanations, you're going to need to really have a deep focus with subject matter experts, rules-based engines, to be able to get something that has high accuracy rate, high helpfulness. Even the way that a computer is going to be able to learn how to do math is different than how you and I are going to learn how to do math. How people at different levels of proficiency are going to do math. And one of those insights for us is that people who are building products really specifically into an area can build a much better experience. I will say that since GPT-3 to 3.5 to 4 and beyond, the power of what one can do with next word prediction, next phrase prediction, next paragraph prediction is quite amazing in terms of that sort of probabilistic expectation of what is the answer. And the improvements over time is incredible. So that has been a remarkable shift and is continuing to be a shift. And what can you do with inference, where you can take potentially a data source that is more relevant to a particular use case, that is going to be cited and used as a more accurate data set. What can one do? I think we're seeing an explosion of different experiences being developed that we found when building for the last 17 years was really, really difficult. And so we're just really blown away at the speed at which these technologies have developed over the last 2 years in particular. And it is quite exciting to see what will happen in a short amount of time.
And I love this idea. At times we try to tackle this problem that's so big with everything, right? But I love the way that all of you have thought about context and focus, right? Because the same solution doesn't necessarily have to work for everything, right? But if you can find that great solution that works for how to think about dissecting a piece of literature, I'm just going to use LitChart because, it's, right, like that could be great. And if you can 80-20 enough of those, right, you start to really get to something that's compelling and tailor-made to the user audience. And I just want to go back to something that you said about engagement, right? Because I think we would all argue as educators, you can have the best content in the world, but if it's not being taught the way, if kids don't care or the learners don't care, doesn't matter, right? And if it's not taught in a way that is has the fidelity to implementation, then it also doesn't matter for a vast majority of students. And so engagement is one, as we think about success, which is a really interesting unlock, right? Because every single student, if we can get all 30 of 30 kids excited, then we've kind of won, because we've also unlocked curiosity, which has huge knock-on effects. And so that leads me to the question of, as you think about success in serving individual learners, right? You mentioned engagement as an awesome metric. Efficacy is a word that gets thrown around. It snowballs into a lot of things, but I'd love to think about how you all think about, like, what does success mean? Is it that every kid is excited and engaged? Is it that, you know, teachers are, like, I would love to hear a little bit about what success means to you.
And I can maybe start. I think, again, the challenge is that a lot of us are developing great software for the perfect classroom, meaning the teacher comes in early, half an hour preparation, good cup of coffee, reviewing everything you prepared the night before. Kids are silent, super eager to learn, and then our technology comes into use, right? So unfortunately, that's not the case. I mean, we're talking to schools where you have the janitor have to do a class because there are no teachers there. How do you make that work? That's part of what we think is super exciting to try to fix. And how can we create engagement around that? And to your point, what does success look like? That's the combination of building first the foundation for mastering, then engagement, then the learning comes. And then, of course, as we will not talk enough about, is that we do teaching, we all try to learn because we want to change behavior. So it's not enough to just learn. You have to learn enough so that you can go home or go to the next class and change behavior in the sense of using what you learned to be smarter or change your attitude or whatever it is that you're learning. So how can we build that into the experience? And we made now a very cool game, which is called Duck Duck Fraction, which is actually a way to learn fraction. And it's free. And it is a way for kids and for teachers to basically put play, and it's playing on each of the devices in class in their pace. And it's no language there, so you don't need to even know how to read to be able to learn fractions. As a very good example, combining this individual learning, mastering, excitement, but also giving the teacher time to go around in class when this is happening. And not only that, at the end of the game, if you end it, then everyone has contributed. So on the big screen, you will see the gold chest full of gold coins. Everyone contributed. It doesn't matter whether you answer 10 times or 20 times. You're all in the team effort, which is, of course, a future-proof part of what you should learn, that you have to build together to make this a difference. So I think sometimes the small, subtle things are as important as the bigger ones. AI, of course, super important. We use that for making teachers able to, on the way to work, create a Kahoot in 5 minutes with images from Getty Images that looks fantastic on any topic, in any language. So yes, we do it on a very in-your-hands, easy-to-use perspective, but all in all, so much cool stuff that we out in here in this conference are making that can never be used because of the conditions in the line of fire. It doesn't allow it. So that's the feedback we get, and I think as long as we fix it from there and continue to build out great apps that are really making a difference from what we see from university research, from what we see here from parents, from teachers, we see we have just a meta-research published now saying that schools or classes using Kahoot on average are increasing the grade level 1 level, which you shouldn't believe because it doesn't make sense from a simplicity of the product. But that's the whole point. That's why it's below radar, because it's so simple to use, so simple for the teacher to use, so simple for the kids or the students, old or young, to engage, and you're all contributing. The person in class, in back of class, never say anything, suddenly is the classroom hero. So that's what we want to do.
Yeah, I'm completely blown away by the idea. And even in PhysicsWallah, we care about one metric is the engagement metric. It is the most important metric for us. We have 2.5 million kids spending 100 minutes a day on an average on our platform, and and how do we do that is by recording again students rating, their watch time, their participation in quizzes, and an empowering teacher with these dashboards, so that they can change their academic delivery if at any given point of time the students are dropping out of video, and if one particular week their ratings are going down and the attendance in the class is going down. So a lot of engagement is being driven by working and empowering the teachers, because if you empower them and if you give them the visibility over data, they will go and reiterate their engagement styles, and they do some experiments, and whether the experiment is really going on or not, if you empower them, then we have seen a lot of teacher performing very well after the visibility of student engagement. But if I have to pick one metric, that's engagement, and it's applicable for teacher as an individual, and Edtech as a company, yeah.
I think trying to understand somebody's goals, dreams, objectives is a great place to start, and just keep in zooming from there. For example, college students in the U.S., top objective, I need to graduate. I got to feel confident and prepared for the next step. And figuring out how am I going to get there and achieve that. When in the U.S., 40% of people that are in college, they're working while they're going to college. Almost 25% of students are parents in the U.S. going to college. The majority of them are single moms. Understanding who the person is, what their context is, what their goals are, I think starts to give a lot more insight into what do you need to build, and it's not surprising then that I need flexibility. I care about speed, I care about quality, I care about price of a particular solution to helping me study, to helping me get stuck at that moment and I'm incredibly stressed because something's due tomorrow. That is an incredibly anxiety-inducing, stress-inducing feeling, and there's context for that. I think when we're helping people write better, faster, more affordably, what's underneath that, say for a Quillbot? The majority of people that we're serving are actually English language learners. They're multilingual, and a top use case is I'm pasting in text and trying to paraphrase it because it's not my native language. And I'm trying to understand what I'm doing. We have people I'm serving that, French is my first language, and then I'm writing in English and paraphrasing it, and I'm not, a 0 to 1 learner. I'm not A1, I'm not A2. I'm really actually at some level of proficiency, but not there yet. And it's a confidence thing. How to get more confidence in practicing and learning while I'm doing. So I think those are some really powerful ways to think about different types of use cases. And it really, I think you can end up then tracking a metric like engagement, and that being such a powerful metric to track progress towards whether that's highly useful or not.
We have officially 1 minute left. So thank you all for joining, and thank our panelists for what was a very engaging conversation for 35 minutes. Well done, team. And collectively to the group, thank you all for the work that you're doing on behalf of students, parents, society, teachers. I think we always forget to recognize that, but it's always inspiring to hear what everyone collectively, really smart brains are trying to tackle really tricky challenges. So thank you all.